In today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 creative looks that you can create using V-flats. Welcome back everyone. In today's video, I'm going to show you 4 ways that you can use a V-flat. If you've been watching this channel for a while, then I'm sure that you've seen me over the years use V-flats to refine my lighting in the studio. In our very first look, I'm going to show you how to use a V-flat as a flag and then use a second V-flat to bounce light back into the shadows in order to create a kicker. Then we're going to take the bouncing to a next level in the second look when I use a V-flat to make a table in order to bounce light into the shadows while we're doing sort of a clamshell lighting setup. Then in our third look, I'm going to use a single V-flat as my background in order to create a really cool high contrast black and white look. Now, V-Flat World did sponsor today's video, but just know that if they didn't sponsor it, you would have seen me using their new V-Flat in a video sooner or later because, as I said, I always use their product. Their new V-Flat 2.0 has plastic around the edges, which should add to durability. And instead of using Velcro to connect the panels, they're actually now using a large magnetic strip, which should make the new V-Flats last a lot longer than the old ones. For the first look, I'm going to use a Elinchrom 100 centimeter deep octabox as my main light over here on camera right. So this is also 39 inches in case you've seen it marketed that way. And we're going to shoot a headshot of our model Eddie. What I'm going to be doing with this light though is having it placed a little bit over here in sort of a loop lighting, Rembrandt lighting position. And then I'm going to come in with a V-flat and I'll grab that. And I'm going to place that right here between the main light and the stool where we're going to have Eddie sitting. Then I'm going to grab a second V-flat over here and I'm going to walk it up a little closer. And I'm going to use this V-flat in order to bounce light from the main light off of this panel in order to create a highlight on the back of his neck. So it might be a little hard to see me and it might be a little loud because we've turned off all of the lights we were using to record the video and now we only have the modeling light on this flash and I can hear it buzzing in my ear. I've got to line up the V-flat in just the right location so that I can see it create a shadow on the side of his head. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to watch his ear and I'm going to move it forward until I see the shadow from the V-flat cross his ear and come up here to the side of his face. And that looks like it is in the right location. I'm going to be using an 85mm lens today on my Canon R5 Mark II, and I'm going to be holding it in position with my Studio Titan 360 camera stand. I'll link to all the gear that I'm using down in the description if you want to check it out. And in fact, if you click on those links and buy anything from the retailers, I'll get a slight commission. So it will help support me make more videos like this one. So I'm going to get it framed up here. So we've got just a head and shoulders shot. I'm going to bring my camera a little bit, tip it up here just a little bit more. That actually looks pretty good. Before we shoot our first photo, I've got to get the exposure dialed in or the power setting dialed in on my light. So I'm going to use a Sekonic 858 light meter, and it has a transmitter inside that will tell the Elinchrom light that I'm using to fire, and then it will allow me to adjust the power. If you don't have a light meter, don't worry about it. You can use trial and error. This is just going to be a lot quicker. And also, if you're interested in checking out this meter, they also have a module for Broncolor and Godox Flashpoint. So I'm going to just test the main light here. I've got to keep the light meter as close to his face as possible to get an accurate reading. I want to shoot at f8 at ISO 100 and my sync speed 1/200th of a second. The reason why I want to shoot at f8 is because I want a fair amount of depth of field, which is normally a good f-stop to use when shooting a headshot. Now this metered at f8 and 6/10, so there is actually a plus or minus button feature here on the bottom. And I'm just going to press the minus button here 6 times in order to turn the light down 6/10 of a stop. So now instead of metering at f8 and 6/10, it should meter at f8. So I'm going to test it again. All right, and it meters at f8. So now I can go back to the camera and see how it looks and if we need to change the pose at all in order to get the right look. Okay, that actually looks really good. I think his ear is a little bright here on camera, right? All right, if you could just lean towards the wall a little bit there, and then just straighten your head up a little bit, and then just bring your jaw forward. This should get you into the beam of light, but keep your ear out of it, hopefully. And we'll check that out. That looks really good. I'm actually gonna try one more thing. I'm gonna move the light back about a foot, and this should make it so that that shadow on his face is a little more prominent. Now, because I moved the light, I have to meter it one more time to make sure we have the correct exposure, and I shouldn't run into the laptop while I do it. But let's go ahead and check that out. This is looking pretty good. I've just got to meter my main light here. So we lost a half a stop. I'm just going to turn it up a half a stop, and we'll check it out. And we're good. So I'll test it one more time, see if that makes a big difference when it comes to the shadow on his face. Okay, that looks great. Let me just show you a comparison between the two photos. And you can see that on the left, we have the ear before I move the light. And you can see on the right, after I move the light, and the ear is darker. And as I zoom out here, this photo looks great, but there is one glaring problem, and that is that his shirt and his hair is blending into the background. And that's because the V-flat on camera right is completely blocking the main light from seeing the background. So what I'm going to do to solve that right now is I'm going to add a second light with a reflector on it. I'm going to place it low to the ground on an apple box, and I'm going to turn it down fairly low so that it probably meters around f4. I just wanted to give us a little bit of a kiss of light there on the background to bring out some details. Okay, that meters at f8. I'm going to turn it down. I noticed that the light was almost at lowest power, so this might be as low as it goes. I'm probably going to have to move. Oh no, actually that does meter at f4. I was going to say I might have to move the light in order to make it darker. That's totally okay. If I move it this way, it gets darker. If I move it that way or turn it up, it gets brighter. But let's just go ahead and try it out right here. It's going to meter at f4. We should be good, but we'll see how it looks on camera. Okay, if I compare the before and after, you'll see that it is giving us a little detail, but it's really not enough detail. So I'm just going to turn that light up another stop and see if it looks good. And this is exactly what you would do if you didn't have a meter. Okay, that's getting us a little more detail. I think that's going to look good. Chin out, shoulder over. Okay, I think that looks great. So for this next look, we're going to use this V-flat as a table that's going to bounce light back up into our shadows, which should preserve some more detail in this really high contrast headshot that we're about to shoot. It's also going to give him a place in order to rest his hands and maybe his elbow. So the way to do that is going to be to turn this around here, and I'm going to just flip it around this way. And now, if you think about it, where the flap is going up and down, you're going to take the V-flat and you're going to rotate it 90 degrees. And the flap will probably come right off, which it just did, and that's totally fine. Then you're just going to go ahead and lean the rest of the V-flat over. Now, the great thing about this configuration is you can just grab it, pull it over on top of the chair here, and then all you have to do is grab the flap underneath and pull it over and bring it sort of near the stool. What that is going to do is it's going to give us a more stable surface for him to put his hands and his arms on, and of course we're going to get that bounce back fill from below. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up this painted backdrop, and that's going to reveal this more skin tone backdrop that we've got here as our background. This will look really good contrasted against his skin tone. Now we've got to work on the lighting. So I've now got this 70 centimeter silver beauty dish. It's also 27 inches, if you will. And I've got it here on a C-stand. And the arm is extended so I can get that beauty dish right here about in the middle of the V-flat. So I'm just going to pick it up and we'll pull it over into position. And in case you were wondering, it probably weighs about 40 pounds, and that's why I made that noise. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and get him on set. So I found before in a test that this modifier is going to look good on a face like his, at around 30 inches or 75 centimeters. So I'm just gonna sort of eyeball it a little bit, and I want this light pointed down at about 45 degrees. I just want to imagine drawing a line right through the modifier, right towards his face, and this looks just about right. I'm gonna, of course, make sure that it's in the right location, right up the middle, and that feels pretty good. I'm just gonna pull it back about an inch, and we should be in good shape. All right, let's test it out. All right, go ahead and put your hand under your chin. Keep that other hand flat there. Come over a little bit this way so you're nice and upright. Yep, we need to have you feeling very confident. Let me just back out a little bit here. Oh, I didn't meter it, so that's something we need to do. Okay, it's f32, way too bright. I'm gonna pull it way down. I wanna shoot at f8 still. So we're gonna go for that. I've probably gotta pull it down 4 stops, and we'll test again. 1 more stop, 5 stops. Okay, now we're at f8. Now we can see how it looks. Okay, so I think that might be pointed down at his chest a little bit too much. It doesn't look very cool or interesting. Let me see if I can rotate the light up a little bit here. Yeah, so it is pointed at his stomach. I'll rotate it up so it's pointed right at the middle of his face. That should be better. We'll test again. Now I've got to drop down because the light's in my way. Great. Okay, that looks a lot better on camera. I'm just wondering though if I used a grid, if that would make it look a lot more dramatic. So I'm gonna grab it and try it out. I'm sorry. Imagine that. All right. Okay, that should be good. I just need to come over here and meter it one more time. And I might meter more around where his eyes are. It's a little dim, so I'll just turn it up. I think I lost about 2 stops, maybe 3. Okay, now we're at f8 again. Let's check it out. Okay, that looks good. I feel like maybe we could lift the light up a little higher. It is a little too isolated on his upper body here. I'd like to light up his stomach just a little bit. So I'm gonna pull the light up maybe that much. Dial it in that way. Let's try this. All right, and I moved it just a little bit, so I'll turn it up about 5/10 of a stop. All right, that looks good. Go ahead and maybe put both hands on the table. That's great. Go ahead and get a little lower there. Flex your abs, stand up really tall. Bring your chin up a little bit more. Let me back up just a little. And cock your head to one side. Great. All right, I think that looks great. Let's go ahead and move on to our third look. So for this next setup, I'm going to use this softbox as my background on the right. I'm going to use this V-flat as my background on camera left. And then I'm going to use this light over here to light his face. When I'm doing a setup like this, I like to make sure that this light is 1 stop brighter than the light on the model's face when I'm metering it with my light meter. So I'm going to go over here to group 1 for this one. I'm just going to test it here and I'm going to meter it. I want to shoot at f8, so I want this one to meter at f11. It's a little hot. I'm just going to turn it down 2/10 of a stop, and now we're ready. If you don't have a light meter, all you need to do is turn this on and power it up until the wrinkles go away. But you don't want it to be way too bright, because if you are, it will cause a fog or a haze moving forward. If you didn't have the light meter over here, what you do is just take test photos with this light until it looked exactly right. I'm going to go into this light right now. I'm going to meter it. And I want it to meter at f8. It's 5, 6, and 4/10. I'm just going to turn it up a little bit and we should be good to go. The main reason for this shot, or the idea behind the shot, is we want a black and white image that's lit on one side on his face, but not lit on the other side on his face, and or his head rather, because he's going to be in profile, and that this over here is white, this over here is black. It should be a really cool high contrast image. All right, go ahead and face the door. Now just turn a little bit more to your left. I want you to think about maybe something far off on the horizon. You're looking very determined and very confident. That's kind of the look that we're going for. All right, so I think that about wraps it up. You saw 3 very cool and creative looks using V-flats. We started off using the V-flat as a flag, and then we used one to create a kicker or an edge light on Eddie's face. Then we used the other V-flat as a table in order to bounce light up into the shadows in order to create a little bit of detail under his jaw, and it also gave him a surface in which to lean and a surface for us to have a reflection of him in the foreground. And then of course for this look, we got that really cool high contrast sort of checkerboard look. Some people would argue that it's not called checkerboard lighting or something. I don't know. I don't know what that is. It doesn't matter. Just know that that third look looked really cool, and I liked the way that it looked on camera. So there are 3 ways that you can use a V-flat. There's probably 100, but I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments or want to share with us which V-flat setup was your favorite, let us know. And if you have any other setups that you love to do when you're using V-flats, put that in there too. If you could please like, subscribe, and sign up for the bell, I would really appreciate it. Remember, the links to the gear is in the description if you want to check that out. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon.